Our top focus of this 5 o'clock broadcast on Friday evening. Actor Irfaan has landed himself in the midst of a controversy following his comment on the traditions of fasting during Ramzan and following it up with a sacrifice during Bakrid. Now, Irfaan has asked for an end to the custom of sacrificing goats during Bakrid and also said that Ramzan is not about fasting but introspection and looking within. We will wait for him to join the panel, but for the moment, Sanal Eramariku, who is the president of the Indian Rationalist Association, is live with us on the broadcast. Mr. Eramariku, to begin with you, what do you think of what, Irfaan has really said?
I think I would really like to appreciate him for making this bold statement, because in most of the religions, it's not only a question of Islam. In most of the religions, we had animal sacrifice over a long time. I mean, for example, in Hinduism, we had in the Vedic, rituals had a lot of animal sacrifices. In Christianity, Judaism, everywhere there was animal sacrifice. But over the years, there have been reform in the whole structure, and people have abandoned them. Islam refuses to accept any kind of reformation in the whole structure or renaissance, and therefore the whole traditions are continued. In a modern time, this kind of sacrifices which we have been practicing something like several thousands of years back need not be practiced, and there should be a revision of thought about these kind of rituals.
Okay, let me get in a word, in fact, from Taslim Ahmed Rahmani Sahab, who's also with us, is the president of the Muslim Political Council of India. Taslim Sahab, how do you look at the statements that Irfaan has made? Would you say that this is really about animal rights as well, as Mr. Sanal Eramariku is pointing out? It's not just about Islam, it's about every religion that needs to look into it. Would you say that this is really about animal rights as well, as
you see, whatever Irfaan Khan is saying, he has every right to speak his mind, whatever is in his mind. But whatever he is saying, whatever he is expressing, cannot be above the scrutiny of the authority of the subject whichever he is talking about. If he is talking about religion, this can be scrutinized by the religious authorities, because he is not a religious authority. He can be a film celebrity, and that way he can give the expert comments on the filmmaking, etc., etc. But on the religious reforms and the social reforms and so many other things, he can speak, he can give his idea, but that must have to be scrutinized.
Sorry to butt in, Taslim Sahab, but wouldn't... Sorry to butt in, but just because he is an actor, why would you sort of be so dismissive about his knowledge of the religious texts?
I did not. I said that whatever he is expressing is not above the scrutiny. I'm not challenging his knowledge or whatever. I don't know much about Irfaan Khan. I have so many other things to ponder upon, to study. I did not know how practicing Muslim he is or he is not. And I'm not bothering about that. He, as a secular citizen, he has every right to speak about any religion or anything else. But the concerned authorities should scrutinize whatever he is saying. This is what I'm saying. Number one. Number two, he is presenting actually the views the RSS has expressed in this country. They have always of the view that the Muslims should practice religion as per their whims and wills. And this is exactly the same thing this Irfaan Khan has said.
That's a rather strange thing to say. That's a rather strange thing to say, Rahmani Sahab, that he's actually following a sort of an RSS line.
Can I say something?
Maybe. I don't know whether he is following, but whatever he is saying is exactly the same thing, that the Qurbani should not be performed by the Muslim. This is a very old age fact the RSS has already given, and there are so many incidences where the gods are picked up by the police, and there are the communal rights during this Qurbani festival, etc., etc. Because the RSS says that okay, we will celebrate the Roza Aftar party by Idresh Kumar everywhere in the country, but we will not allow the Qurbani.
I'm sorry, Sanal, I would like to bring you here. Rahmani Sahab, I would like to bring in Sanal Eramariku over here because Sanal, as you mentioned, it's not just about Qurbani in the Islamic festivals. I know of several Hindu festivals. I come from a small town where there used to be a lot of goat sacrifices in the name of Dhritarashtra. So it's a practice that is there across religions. So is it right to sort of criticize Irfaan on this issue?
I think, Smita, your point is very correct because, for example, I am a strong critic of Hindu fanaticism. But all the same, I would be very strictly criticizing the practice of God sacrifice or in other countries, for example, camel sacrifice just for the belief. Such practices existed long back. There is no relevance of such practices. It's not a question of some cleric saying it's good or bad. It's the masses who have to reject such practices because then only society would progress. In Nepal, for example, in a Hindu temple, there was a huge animal sacrifice going on till recently.
Yes.
That was in a Hindu temple. That was stopped. And in India, we had animal sacrifices happening, till some decades back. It's all stopped. So why don't we, without considering who says, and just saying the RSS ploy for everything is an escapist solution. Address the issue because this a sacrifice of animals for no purpose, just because there was an old story and there is written in some old text, all animals being sacrificed on a particular day without any purpose or any kind of use is simply ritualistic, meaningless and absurd, and that has to be reformed. And people who are from the Islamic community, I would suggest they should reject and they should come out from these kind of things.
Ramani Sahab, is this an escapist route that you're taking? As Mr. Edivaraku points out, we have also seen those, in fact, annual buffalo sacrifices that happen in Nepal, which was an erstwhile royal Hindu kingdom. So is it something that people actually need to introspect about? What is wrong in introspecting about it?
No, actually, whatever Mr. Samuel has said is quite unscientific. If you know the ecological system of the world and the universal system, then you must know. And I quote one very recent example: the Nilgai hunting in Uttar Pradesh. They banned it at the name of Astha because the guy what is there, so the Nilgai should not be hunted. It was banned. But now the same farmers are coming to the government of Uttar Pradesh to get permission of hunting the Nilgai. So this is ecology. There are billions of goats and mendas and so many animals are sacrificed for the consumption of human food. And the 90% of the world population is non-vegetarian. This is a proven and known fact. This is the best protein providing food.
No, it's nothing about.
And when billions of gods are sacrificed in a day, if they are not sacrificed, then what will happen? The universe has been created for the humankind, not for the animal kind. Okay, animal rights are there. We should all respect and we should all honor and we should give them protection. But that doesn't mean that the human species will become inferior to the animal species.
Okay.
And every religion, the thousands of year old religion, they are their messengers and whosoever invented those religions, they have their own thoughts in their minds.
So you've made a point.
And some Menika Gandhi will stand up and will start giving sermon.
Mr. Ramani, you've made a point. Let me put this question to Sanal. Sanal, how do you really make a sort of a discrimination or a difference that at the end of the day, it's perhaps easy to pinpoint and say that on this religious occasion, there is a mass slaughter happening, but it's not like the entire world is vegan or the entire world is vegetarian. To feed that entire global community, at the end of the day, there is slaughters happening everywhere. So how does one really make that difference?
Smita, I can be very honest. I am a non-vegetarian. I am a strict non-vegetarian. I like non-vegetarian food, and I think that's a big protein supply for human being. But that doesn't mean that we have to kill animals just because there is a ritual, and in large number, in a ritualistic killing, not for the food, but for the fulfillment of the ritual, because there was some old story, because it was a ritual, therefore you have to fulfill it. That is something wrong. That's why, for example, animal sacrifice is banned in our country. There has been, for example, in heavens, we have been sacrificing animals all throughout history, in Indian history. We can see in the whole Vedas, you can see animal sacrifice was there. But there is no more animal sacrifice happening now. Why? Because things have modified. We have reformed. Therefore, Islam needs a reformation. And I would say that I'm not against animals being eaten. I mean, that's not the question here. The question is animals being simply slaughtered because It's because it's part of a story, it's part of a ritual, and there is no meaning. It brutally, a lot of animals are simply butchered, and just because it's not on the basis of human needs, but it's just butchered because it's a ritual. That's what is to be stopped.
Yes, please respond to that, Rahmani Sahab. You know, does the religious text really say that this is a part of human need, this mass slaughter? You know, if you are trying to make a comparison with non-vegetarians who eat meat on a regular basis, but this particular mass slaughter that happens, I'm not just talking about Eid, I'm talking about the other other religious festivals too. Is that really a need that is mentioned in the scriptures? Rahmani Saab. Okay, looks like we've lost that link, but you know, Sanal, also the other part of the controversial remark that Irfaan seems to have made is that fasting is all about sacrifices, but people have forgotten the meaning really. They're not looking within. It's about introspection. It's not necessary that you fast. That's not just the only way to observe Ramzan.
I fully appreciate his position. For example, by fasting, by not eating the whole day and having a sumptuous meal after that in the evening does not mean anything. You know, most of the parties at the evening after the fasting, they are compensating whatever you are not eating. Maybe most of the time it is double or triple you are eating, and there is no meaning in the whole concept of fasting when you can eat quite a lot till morning and simply remain. Also forcing it in so many countries and in so many areas. Fasting because of somebody's belief. If somebody wants to fast, it's their right. I'm not against that. But forcing people to fast, for example, in many countries, in Saudi Arabia or other countries, if anybody publicly eats something, they are punished. It's an offense. So it's infringement of private freedom of what one should do and what one should not do. If anybody wants to fast, it's their freedom. But fasting as a concept and idolizing fasting is baseless, basically.
You know, you personally have come under, of course, attacks in various forms in India because of pointing out to these issues for being a rationalist. But clearly, there are customs across religions. You know, even in India, when you talk about the Hindu religions, when you talk about Christianity, on various occasions, people do take to things like fasting. Does that help really people become better human beings? Perhaps that should be the end objective of these religious practices?
It is not said, for example, the fasting during Ramzan is not meant or officially mentioned that it's good for your health, therefore you should fast. Now it's a new interpretation, because every kind of ritual, when it wants some justification, people are trying to find new justifications which are not in the original ritualistic text, because they want to justify it with whatever is possible. Now people are less mobility and people are getting obese. Now it's a justification that people think it will sell, because the original idea of Ramzan does not sell. Therefore say, come on, it's good for your health. But it's who has said that, continuously for several days, if you do not eat and eat quite a lot of food, over food in the evening, is that healthy? Has it been proved anywhere? It's just a common, it's like a folk legend that people say that, come on, it's good for your health. You know, that doesn't mean anything.
But while, of course, we're trying to patch Mr. Rahmani back into the broadcast, we lost that line with him. But would you at least give credit to the fact when he says that, you know, these issues need to be scrutinized by people who have expertise on the subject? At the end of the day, we can all have a medical opinion based on what Google tells us, what the internet search tells us, but we still want to go by what a doctor prescribes to us. So similarly, people can have a view about religion, but it needs to be scrutinized really by people who have read religion more seriously, and only then perhaps the introspection can be fairer.
Smita, I would seriously beg to differ on that point, because who are the people who decide? It's the whole idea when he says that thing. Here, there are some authorities, some clerics, who are going to decide what is right and what is wrong as per the religion. But ultimately, it's the individual who has to decide what he wants and what he does not want. Everybody has the right to think about what he wants to practice in his life, and every society has a right to retrospect question.
No, everybody
And,
has a right. Everybody has a right to, of course, say, and that is something that Mr. Rahmani was agreeing with, and he's back on the line with us. But before I go back to him, everybody has a right, but does everybody have an expertise really to talk about these issues which are very sensitive?
Social change is not a question of expertise. It's a question of, society's necessities. For example, what's the fundamental yardstick when we think about social reform now? Human rights. I mean, if fundamental human rights is violated, if freedom is violated, if the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is violated, we would say that needs to be changed. There are some common yardsticks our civilization has achieved. That's the yardstick. And anybody who would understand what are the yardsticks of a civilization should be able to speak about it. That's how we have reforms. It's not only religious experts who created the social change in our country or anywhere in the world. It's people who came out with ideas and views and courage.
Rahmani Sahab, you must have heard, in fact, Mr. Sanal Adimariku's comments right now. At the end of the day, when you say that it's actually religious experts who need to sit down and take decisions on this, but in most cases we have seen that they prove to be very rigid. They don't think that religious beliefs need to change with changing times.
You see, if somebody is expressing his personal view, a large section of the society should mandatorily should accept those views. Is not, I think, is in no parameter it is advisable. There should be some authority, some body, some institution who should take care of such things, and only those authorized people, whatever it is, if it is the clergy or this is a large section of society, that can take care of those kind of suggestion and answer. Number one. Number two,
as far as the images of most clergies are that they're very conservative. They are not open to the idea of liberal arguments.
Listen to me. If today Irfaan Khan said that okay, patient suffering with fever shall not be given paracetamol, rather some antibiotic should be given, that doesn't mean that it shall be accepted by the patient of the whole society. This is his personal view. It should have been taken as his personal view.
Sir, but what I'm saying
Muslim
is,
community, which has to practice the Ramzan, or he's doing an insult to what the community is practicing.
But Rahmani Sahab, the humble point. Rahmani Sahab, the humble point that I'm trying to make is that you cited the example of the doctor, which I had mentioned also to Sanal, but even that medicine that the doctor gives you, sometimes it might not work. Sometimes there are cases of medical negligence. Similarly, your religious experts and the clergy most of the time.
That is a professional
fault. Sir, religious clergies most of the time tend to come across as very conservative. They're not open to the idea of having liberal arguments at all.
This has become the fashion of the day, that everybody who want to do his marketing at a much larger institution should stand up and abuse the Islam and Muslims elsewhere in the world, all over the world. This is an Islamophobic tendency that only the Islam should be meted out with criticism. Every law should be, the Islam present should be criticized. So this is Islamophobic temptation.
No, it's not criticism. It's not criticism. Sanal is talking about all religions. I am talking about all religions, and it's not about Islamophobia. It's not about criticism simply of Islam.
Because
I raised the question of mass slaughter across Hindu festivals as well.
He Islam and Muslim. He did not criticize the Hindu sacrifices. Why only Islam?
Okay,
all the religions should not practice sacrifices.
I'll take the final word from Sanal before I wrap this up. I'm running out of time. Sanal, in 30 seconds, do you think when Irfaan spoke about mass slaughter on Eid, maybe he should have spoken about sacrifices in the other religions as well?
Not necessarily. There need not be a rider when you speak about one issue. That's an escapist solution again. For everything, when you start saying that you criticize something, okay, come on, that's RSS. That's Islamophobia, because you cannot address the issue. Come on, have courage to address the issue, take the issue and see the merits of it. And there is no question of, isolating one religion. For example, I don't believe in any religion, but I respect people's belief. But this is not insulting Islam. It's a call for reform in belief.
Okay, we'll leave it there. In fact, I have to wrap up the show. Many thanks for joining us, Mr. Sanal Adimarikuru, as well as Rahmani Sahab. Clearly, while we do understand that there are places for scholars, well-read, of course, who have expertise, but at the end of the day, when educated people, civil society members come forward and make a point of view, maybe you could just have a civilized discussion on it as well.